This video is for entertainment purposes only. None of the information you're about to hear should be considered medical advice, and you should always consult a licensed medical practitioner before embarking on a health or lifestyle change. Okay, so we are recording. Sorry, how do you pronounce your name? Is it Sana or Sana?
Sana.
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 Okay, Sana. Okay. Well, it's good to have you here with us this week. Your YouTube channel has been, you've been showing a lot of support around the keto community. So I had seen you in a bunch of different live streams, and you know, and then I've seen your videos posted. So I wanted to sit down with you and sort of get your story with keto, because I'm assuming I have seen that was the last couple of videos, you're sort of dabbling in carnivore now a little bit, or
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So why don't we just start with, sort of what your history is with, with the SAD diet and how you came to keto in the first place, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, absolutely. So my story might be a little bit unique because you might have had many people on your channel that started solely because they wanted to make a lifestyle change. My story is a little bit unique because our oldest son, was 10 years old at the time. And just out of nowhere, he just started getting seizures. He
Mm-hmm.
basically got medical intervention, but even everywhere we turned, no matter whether it was through his pediatrician, different neurologist specialists we went to, they could not find what was causing these seizures. I basically did the next best thing I can as, his advocate, his parent, his mom, was to do as much research as I could. I actually came across a lot of different information that pertain to your eating. What we're putting in our body can definitely have the body have different triggers. I figured, what do we have to lose? It's the food that we're changing. And if it helps, it helps. If it doesn't, we learn from it. So I
Mm-hmm.
actually started doing research right around the time that he had his first seizure, which was October of 2018. So it was right when he had turned 10 years old. And like many of us, we come across Dr. Ken Berry. So
Mm-hmm.
I binge watched. When I tell you I binge watched Dr. Ken Berry's videos on YouTube, I basically felt like I was a college student all over again. I had a pad of paper and a pencil, and I was writing down so much important information that he was just bringing across. We changed as a household. I know a lot of people, it's not easy for the whole household to change, but for us, this was for our child. And we definitely, my husband and myself, we definitely needed to make changes as well. Myself, I started at 283 pounds when our household started. So when I felt like I was ready after researching, I gave it a good 3 months of research, and we eventually started January 5th of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Starting, I had immediate results. It was basically so immediate that I was just having pounds melt off of me. My
Mm-hmm.
son was having pounds melt off of him, and my husband the same. Ever since then, I want to say it was about a good month into keto, and our son did not have another seizure. So it was obviously the change of eating definitely was beneficial for him. But then for me, I had so much luck with a ketogenic way of eating. By the time I had reached 15 months doing keto, I had lost 101 pounds myself. So it definitely was a substantial weight loss, just kind of going into it for me at that under 2 year mark. Unfortunately, at that time, I did have a twist in my story. So it kind of plays into why I named my channel the way that I did, because at that point, my keto journey kind of went imperfect. Unfortunately, at that 15-month mark, when I was having such great success with keto, my father had passed away. He did pass away from the big ugly thing that had shown its face to the world in
Mm,
2020. So it was very tragic for me. We did not live in the same state. So, with lockdowns going on, there's no way I can go there to see him. There's no way I was able to attend his funeral. So, it was very difficult to have someone so close to you in life and, just someone that was very impactful in my life to go through something like that. Um, it did run an emotional toll when it came to my way of eating. So thankfully, I did not go back to the standard American diet that caused me to get up to 283 pounds, but I was making excuses. I kind of played around with, oh, I'm going to eat a big amount of a particular keto item because I'm saying to myself, I'm eating it in moderation. So I kind of had that excuse kind of be a comfort to
mm,
myself. Or I told myself, oh, well, I'm not doing as bad because this is not something that is standard American diet. This is something keto. And it was a lot of times whole foods that I was eating. So we're not even talking about keto box products. I'm talking about real whole foods, but I was just making excuses for the overindulgence. I allowed it to be a comfort, an emotional comfort. For me, it was filling a void. So I kind of felt it was important to, through my channel, show people that yes, you can be eating keto, but there could be a point where you're allowing moderation to be an excuse, and it could be possibly some binge eating going on. So that is basically what kind of sent me down a rabbit hole. Out of that 101 pounds, I actually gained 42 pounds between April of 2020 up until basically when I started my triple BNE journey that I started January of this year.
mm. Yeah, that's definitely quite the journey. It's you know to start with, yeah, and I guess everyone that's sort of done any kind of research on keto knows that the origins of the actual ketogenic diet was to treat seizures in children back in the late 1800s. So it's to actually hear a story about someone that's using it today to do that. And has he been able to stick with it since it
Yes,
started? Yeah.
he
So,
currently, right now, he's 14 years old, and still yet my entire family, they're on keto. So even we have his little brother that was actually about to turn 2 years old at the time. So obviously it was easier to transition him to the keto way of
mhm,
eating because he really did not know much of the standard American diet. He literally was, coming off of breast milk at that time, and he was able to get right into just kind of eating the whole foods, the just the ketogenic food.
mhm,
So everyone in the household, they still have stuck with the keto way of eating, and he has never, since that time of 2018, he has never had another seizure ever again. So you're talking about a matter of over 4 years, and he's not had any issues at all.
hmm. Yeah, that's those are the kind of stories, and that's the kind of story that this show is all about. Like, it's how many other people are out there that are going through the same thing you did, you know, luckily, when you started doing your research, you were able to come across someone like Dr. Barry and get a lot of information. Like, yeah, you're right. If you get down that rabbit hole of information with him, you can spend a lot of time, you know, watching and learning information. And so, you know, but the fact that you're saying now 4 years later and he's still fine, like that's definitely a win for this way of eating as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, sure. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. For me, I definitely feel that going through mental health therapy really helped me.
Mhm.
Um, so I know that's a lot, for someone to kind of come to terms with that they need help. They need to speak to someone. So that's also something I'm trying to do with my channel because I feel a lot of times, we're told in the community, show yourself some grace. And I definitely extend that to everyone on my channel as well. Just, show yourself some grace. But we also kind of have to pinpoint if there is something mental health or something emotional also going on because we're all human. We're going to have slip ups sometimes. There is temptations around every corner, especially when it comes to food, especially during the holiday time. There's every kind of temptation out there. But I think it's really important to kind of have ourselves distinguish, is that truly just a slip up or is there just a little bit more to it? And I think that is really what I had to come to terms with, because, gaining that 42 pounds back, it was running havoc on my body. Because going from losing 101 pounds in 15 months and then gaining 42 of that back in pretty much the same amount of time span, it was a big toll that was running on my body. I started getting just a lot of pain. I was just really tired more often, and still yet, I was still eating ketogenic foods. It was just the quantities that I was eating because I figured, oh, well, I was doing everything according to moderation. And then I set myself down this downward spiral because here, I check to see, possibly what others are doing in the community. And that's when I got into intermittent fasting. And my body was not in any sort of condition where I should have dove into intermittent fasting. My mental health was not in the place it should have been to intermittent fast. And I feel that, intermittent fasting is an amazing tool, especially in terms of autophagy. It is amazing. But for me, I was truly using it as a punishment. Here I gained 42 pounds. I started doing one meal a day, which, is known as OMAD. I gave that a full 3-month commitment because you're told, if you do something for 30 days, it's great. But if you commit 90 days, that's even better. 90 days, nothing. I did not have any pounds lost. I was gaining even more weight from doing one meal a day. Then I told myself, you know what? I'm going to take it another step further. Maybe one meal a day is not enough. And then I started alternate day fasting.
Mhm.
So, with alternate day fasting, here you're skipping a whole entire day and you're basically eating every other day. I was not seeing truly what was happening with my body. I was just so fixated on others, trying all these different methods that are basically being screamed all over on social media. And I figured, you know what? What is there any harm in it? They're having results, they're having success. Maybe this is something I need to do as well. But I was not facing the fact that I was putting my body in starvation and my body was storing all that fat. It was holding on to all that fat. But we don't realize those things because, when you're basically so fixated on, oh, here I gained so much weight. Now let me take drastic measures to try to take it off. We kind of are stuck with that mentality of rapid weight loss. Sometimes, we kind of just really never truly learn until, we really go through something like this. So it really took for me to go through mental therapy to see the harm I was causing myself. I was basically using the intermittent fasting as a form of punishment, um, eating more than I should have from ketogenic foods was an eating disorder in itself. So once I got the mental health therapy, a huge weight was lifted off of me. But still, yet, that can only do so much. I did go through 4 months of therapy, but still, yet, I still felt like keto was not doing its thing for me. It was benefiting my family because, as I said, my son, both of my sons and my husband, they still are eating keto. But for me personally, it was just not working out. And I could not just continue to do keto just because the rest of my family was. So that is when I started seeing a lot of things coming up around the holiday time right before the first of the year. So right before January 2023, I started seeing all these things about triple BNE. And
Mhm.
in all my 4 years of keto, I had never heard of it before, like I have been hearing about it recently. So I did my own research because obviously I learned my lesson that even though this person and that person is mentioning on all these forums that they are doing this, they're having success with it, I needed to see if it was beneficial for myself. I was not going to go down the rabbit hole again like I did with the intermittent fasting. So I truly had to see if it was best for me. So I really needed to use it as an elimination tool. Not only did I have the weight gain from kind of just doing too much indulgence in keto foods, but I also started having, so around the start of the third year of me starting keto, up until right when I started triple BNE. So basically, up from January of 2020 up until just, recently, I started having a lot of bathroom urgencies and it came out of nowhere. And there was nothing I was able to pinpoint. So there wasn't any new ingredients or new keto food items that I introduced to my body. I just started having a lot of irritation. It started to get to the point where I truly felt like I was trapped in my house. Um, I couldn't go anywhere because if I did go anywhere, there would not always be a restroom readily available. Because of course, us women, a lot of public places we go to, we don't have the convenience. A lot of times when it comes to our bathrooms being readily available, usually we
Mhm.
have a long line that we have to wait. So it put fear in me to leave the house. So that is the main reason why I found triple B and E to be really of interest to me because I figured, you know what, let me eliminate everything and let me see where this takes me. I know everyone else is doing it as a challenge. I heard some mention they're doing it for weight loss, but for me, I needed to figure what was going on with my body. So that's when I started. I started January 1st of this year. I only decided to do it for 30 days. At that same time, because of all of my weight gain, I started getting a lot of body pains. I had lower back pain, hip pain. I had pain in my thighs, my legs. And then I actually developed two heel spurs on both of my feet. Right at the start of triple B and E, I had a very substantial heel spur in my right heel. It caused me limited mobility. I could
Mm.
hardly walk. I basically had to video chat with my husband, and he had to go to the grocery store for me. And I kind of had to tell him, oh, yes, buy this, buy that, because I could not leave the house. I could not put full pressure on my foot. But when I tell you, by the start of the third week of Triple B&E, I had no pain. It was so amazing that I can just go eating that way and have no pain just 3 weeks in. I even put pressure on my heels because I could not believe that, how is this pain all of a sudden gone? I could not walk because of this pain, but even putting pressure on my heels, there was no feeling at all. I did not have any aches, any pains. So it actually resulted in me making the decision to do triple B&E for a total of 60 days. So I actually went doing triple B&E from January 1st of this year and did it all the way up until just March 1st. So getting into carnivore, that is why I made the decision to go carnivore, only because just that 60 days of triple B&E, I've never felt better.
Mm.
Even throughout the 4 years of doing keto, I've never felt better than I do in my own body. The pain is gone, the bathroom urgencies are gone, and the little bit that I still had weighing on me emotionally and just a little bit of, mental health issues that I was going through that the therapist could not resolve, that completely was gone as well. And I truly feel like because I did not have any stress any longer, I did not have the weighted stress of bathroom urgency issues. I didn't have any stress of, oh, do I need to punish myself with fasting? I did not have to worry about, oh, what, creative keto meal am I going to cook today? Because, we all kind of like to dabble in getting very
Mm-hmm.
creative with our keto meals. So there was a lot of stress that I put on myself that was now completely gone. It was literally like someone had switched a light switch with me. So that is the main reason why I decided to go carnivore. I figured it would allow me to still incorporate other items like seafood and chicken. So I've spent the last couple days doing a little bit of reintroduction. So I've tried chicken so far. Thankfully, I don't have any issues reintroducing chicken, and hopefully this weekend I can reintroduce seafood. But that is really what led me to wanting to do carnivore. And I did not make the decision lightly. I know a lot of people were asking me throughout my whole triple B&E, what are you going to do next? Are you going to go back to keto? And for me, it was not something that I could make a quick decision on. I had to see how my body was feeling. And it's something that Dr. Barry, as well as, his wife, Nurse Nisha, they mentioned, it's very important for you to do an N=1 experiment. This is
Mm-hmm.
very much your own personal journey. No matter what anyone says, all our bodies are different, all our bodies are unique. So we have to find and do what is truly best for us. So I really feel that triple B&E led me truly to what has my body feeling good. I have never felt better.
Yeah, and that I agreed 100%. Like it at the end of the day, um, there's a million ways of doing things out there, and everybody's got a different way to do it. Like I do things different than you do, than everybody in the community. But I think at the end of the day, we all have the same goal in mind is, and that's to feel as good as we can. Like if something bothers you and you know that it bothers you, well, then, like it may suck to have to give things up. Like come to the realization that things like nut butters and like any kind of nuts really, they cause a lot of inflammation in my joints.
Oh, right.
So but what's the choice? You either indulge in them or you live with the pain. Well, the pain gets so
Exactly.
bad. The pain is so bad that you can't, I've had to do a lot of the same kind of things. You're like, oh, well, maybe this isn't so good for me. And, we give it up. And, it unfortunately seems like it's more and more and more and more. And I guess doing things like the triple B and E is a good way to, like you say, eliminate pretty much everything. And then you can go back from there, hopefully, and reintroduce the things that you can hopefully tolerate that help with your sanity. I think, because as much as we want to try and disconnect our mental thinking behind food and
Right.
just use it as fuel, like eat just because we have to, not because it makes us feel good, it's almost impossible to really ever give it up unless you say to yourself, hey, look, do you want to eat this now and pay for it tomorrow? Or do you want to say, no, I'm not going to eat it. I'm going to feel good tomorrow. So that I,
Exactly. And that's what
and
keeps me the motivation to
mm-hmm,
continue. Because right now, I do not miss anything that I
mm-hmm,
was having on keto.
mm-hmm,
There's nothing that I miss. Even right now, even though, some on carnivore, they incorporate dairy, they try to incorporate hard cheeses at least. Right
mm-hmm,
now, I'm staying away from dairy because right now it's so important for me to kind of get back on track with my goals. So
mm-hmm,
I kind of have this mantra for myself to kind of have my goals supersede my cravings. For me, I don't need to have dairy right now. For now, it doesn't really do anything for me. I mean, yes, can I put it on a burger patty? Sure. But I mean,
mm-hmm,
is it really worth discovering that it actually was possibly something that was causing me issues? For me, it's not worth it to, as you say, to feel crummy again because,
mm-hmm,
it can last, just for that one little bit of indulgence of cheese, it can run havoc on my body for more than a day. So was it worth
mm-hmm,
it for that piece of cheese? I don't want really anything right now to set me back because I kind of just feel right now that I have really just kind of got back on track to just a really good place. Just, trying to achieve my better health goals, as well as just right now having just the right mentality currently right now that I don't want anything to slip me up, especially when it comes to food. Because, just as you're saying, we kind of have to have that disconnect where, we have to see food as it is a source of fuel for us. Yes, can we enjoy what we're eating? Absolutely. We want to all be able to enjoy what we're eating, but it kind of gets to the point where are we doing that in a healthy way or are we doing it in an unhealthy way? Because,
mm-hmm,
there is two sides to that. We can have a healthy mentality about it or it can be an unhealthy mentality. But that is why I kind of just continue the way I'm going. And so far, like I've just really wanted to reintroduce chicken and this weekend, I'm going to try seafood. So hopefully that's not an issue. That way I can kind of have a little bit more variety when it comes to the
mm-hmm,
carnivore way of eating. And slowly I will reintroduce certain seasonings and see how it does with that. I know some, that's taboo to some carnivores is using seasonings, but to me, I could be doing a lot worse than incorporating
mm-hmm.
some seasonings. The way that I was going about things was a lot worse than the approach that I'm taking now. So I definitely feel, showing yourself grace in that matter definitely is important. As long as I'm continuing to focus on my own N=1 experimenting to make sure that those seasonings are not hindering me or causing me any irritations, it does not matter what opinion anyone has.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it like it goes right back to being true to what you want to do for yourself. Who
Exactly.
cares what everybody says? Like
Hmm.
everyone, like there's, and unfortunately, there's people on both ends of the spectrum that are like, well, you have to do it this way, or it has to be this way. It's like, yeah, you do you, and like, and everybody. And the problem with all that is a lot of these people, there's a lot of popular people out there that in the past that have said
Right.
carnivore is this way and this way only, and then now some of them are like, well, maybe some fruits all right. It's like everybody's changes, like not, well, there are certain people out there like Kelly Hogan and some of the outliers that stick with a very strict diet. But I think
Right.
they've come to that place the same way you have, like if you were to, unfortunately, what, like, I'm hoping it doesn't work out this way, but if you were
Hmm.
to start reintroducing things and you found that everything except for like ruminant animal meat and eggs bothered you, well, then you wind up sticking to the things that don't bother you. But if
Right.
you can tolerate some other parts of the spectrum, then like I completely agree. You don't want to punish yourself along the way. Just, yeah, give yourself the grace that you need to do it. And it seems like you've got a good handle on. A lot of people will try something for a few days and they don't see any change, and they're like, well, this doesn't work. you
Yes.
know you've learned that if you really want to see if something's going to work, you really have to give it that actual try, that first 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is, whatever it takes to get to that point in your journey where you can say, okay, well, now it's time to try something new.
Yes, I completely agree. Because being in this
Yeah.
community for over 4 years, I definitely see a lot of that. Um,
Hmm.
you know, there's just too much shifting after just a matter of, 2, 3 weeks. And we got to understand that that is also unhealthy for the body. We
Hmm.
can't expect the body to work with us if we're giving it mixed signals. We can't start something for 2 to 3 weeks and then figure out this is not working. Let's switch it up again because, we're actually ending up doing more harm than good for our bodies.
Hmm. Yeah. And the whole fasting thing is, sorry to go back to the to that part of it, because I everything you said about fasting is kind of been my, and it may not be a popular opinion
Hmm.
sometimes, but I probably fast more than I should. Um, but I find, unfortunately, it's gone from something that's a good tool when
Right.
you need it to something that is way overused, in my personal opinion. And the whole, when you bring up using it to punish yourself, like you
Yes.
realize that that's unhealthy.
Right.
I don't know how many times, like I've been in the Instagram keto community for about 5 years now. And I don't know how many times I've seen posts, oh, well, I went off the rails yesterday and had some birthday cake, so I'm going to fast for 48 hours. I'm like,
Oh, yeah. I see
well,
it very often.
yeah, you see it all the time. And it worries me because there's a lot of people out there that punish themselves
Right.
by not eating. And they gets to that point, unfortunately, where you're right, you get into a starvation mode. You don't realize that
Hmm.
you can gain just as much weight not eating enough as you can eating too much, because you're right, your body will be in that mode where it just stores everything it gets because it doesn't know when it's going to be uh, replenished again.
Right,
So,
exactly. And some don't realize, that type of pattern or even that type of intermittent fasting, where you're basically, I'm going to have a piece of cake and, I don't have to worry because I can intermittent fast for 24 plus hours. That right there, that is eating disorder mentality. You are
yeah.
really setting yourself up for being labeled as having an eating disorder because now it's kind of like, you're basically giving yourself the freedom to kind of go AWOL on eating whatever you want. And you're basically saying, well, you know what? I'm just going to intermittent fast.
hmm
That right
Yeah.
there, it is borderline eating disorder. Even if someone doesn't want to fully label it as eating disorder, it is very much reminiscent of a lot of other eating disorders out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I've called it that in the past. Like I say, I try not to
Right.
step on anyone's or try and hurt anyone's feelings,
No.
because there's a lot of people out there that do a lot of fasting, but and that's fine too. Like, even if you want to do, like, I've got a couple of people I know on here that do a couple of times a year, they'll do a 7-day fast, you know.
Right.
But that's a tool that they use once or twice a year to
Hmm.
reset, basically. Like, they reset their digestion, like, and then their mentality with the diet, and that's using it as a tool. I just worry about the punishment side of it, but all we can really do is, just keep talking about it, I guess.
Exactly. Because I feel
So.
intermittent fasting is beneficial. I naturally fast because, just eating the meat is so satiating.
Hmm.
Eating basically a meat heavy way of eating, it is so satiating, especially fatty cuts of meat. I literally might finish, having my dinner, say for tonight, if I ate at like 7, 8 p.m., I am not hungry again the next day until like around 2:30, 3 p.m.
Hmm.
So I just naturally fast because I don't have a hunger cue yet. And basically, I want to make sure I'm getting in my protein for the day. But then again, if I'm really not having that hunger cue, I'm also not going to cause myself to force myself to eat because obviously, if we're force eating, that also is an issue as well. But I really think, there are a lot of benefits to intermittent fasting. So I would never bash it because, especially once I get to my ideal body weight, once I kind of feel comfortable at whatever, weight loss I do end up achieving, I might have to get into some intermittent fasting because I will most definitely have loose skin. So, in terms of autophagy, I really feel it is amazing. But in terms of using it to have rapid weight loss, I don't really feel, in my opinion, that that is the way it should be used. I really feel the benefit of it should be specifically for autophagy. And I just really think that people kind of just use it for just the rapid weight loss. And I don't
Hmm.
know during any of the long fasts that you've had, because I've had very long fasts, like you've mentioned a 7-day fast. I have done a few 7-day water fasts before. And I can definitely tell you, whatever amount of weight that I lost in that 7 days, I had gained at least half of it back.
Hmm.
So even, it's not always what it's cracked up to be. Everyone's going to definitely have a different experience of what they're going to lose. In terms of doing the different fasting methods, I don't really feel like anyone should kind of get into that rabbit hole of using it, as a form of punishment or to kind of achieve a rapid weight loss. But I do feel, intermittent fasting is very helpful if being used for the right reasons.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it's important for people to, like, a lot of people that will wind up watching this, like, initially are going to be people that have been, a lot of them have been on journeys even longer than ours.
Right.
Um, but the thing I like, I want people new to it to understand is that, because it seems to me like a lot of people are like, oh, I started keto 2 weeks ago, now I should start fasting. And it's
Yes.
like, no, no, just keep eating when you're hungry. Like the fasting will come eventually. Like you say, I don't fast on purpose. I'm just not hungry,
Right.
because you get your sufficient protein every day, and then, your body knows when it needs to eat again. So, but to try and reduce, the calorie intake when you're first starting off with keto or ketovore or carnivore, I think it's just too much for your body to handle. I think that can cause a lot of issues. Um, so that's sort of the advice I give on that side. But it sounds like you're pretty much on board with letting it come naturally and then start using it when it really makes sense to use it.
Yes, that is definitely where I'm at this point.
Hmm.
Because doing it this way, I have not had any issues at all. And, I just kind of want to continue kind of riding along on this newfound freedom. I did share on my channel that just, this past weekend, I went to the beach. So we live in Florida. So a
Hmm.
lot of the beaches here that, have beautiful ocean access, they don't have restroom facilities.
Hmm.
And for the first time in a very long time, I was able to go to the beach. And for me, that was such an emotional experience for me. So that's why I even recorded a little snippet to just share it with my subscribers. Because, just with this way of eating, you can gain just so much freedom. When I know people talk about, the medications they come off of, or, the pain being alleviated, but, even going through something like, the bathroom urgencies I was going through and kind of being almost like a prisoner in my own house, and now not having any issues at all leaving the house. It
Hmm.
was just such an emotional, just positive experience for me.
Yep. Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I've had a lot of digestion issues over the years too that I've been trying to work on, and little by little, it's it unfortunately seems like, okay, well, I gave this up and it got a little better, and then I gave this up and it got a little better, and I'm giving this up and it's getting a little better. But like I say, it's one of those. That's one of those things that will
Right.
drive you to do whatever you have to do to fix the issue, because you're right, that feeling of being a prisoner in your own home because you can't risk going outside, like going away from your home. I know the feeling, and it's, and I work, even my job is kind of a thing where, sometimes I'm driving for 3 hours to go to work, and, so it's kind of, so yeah, I've been there. I feel your pain on that one for sure. So, and I'm sure a lot of other people have too. In fact, when I first started keto, things got a lot worse for a few weeks because my body was adjusting to the higher
Oh,
fat
right.
in my diet. So, but then I started using an ox bile supplement, and that got things settled down after that. But yeah, and again, that's another one of those things that changing your diet. Okay, well, maybe 1 or 2 weeks in, a lot of people that
Right.
jump into a carnivore diet can find a real change in their you know regularity, let's say. And unfortunately, it drives people away from eating healthy because they can't get through that adjustment period.
Yes, and I actually tried ox bile and digestive enzymes,
Mm,
and I gave them a really good go, but unfortunately it just did not do anything for me.
yeah, yeah. That whole part of the body, getting that in tune is definitely it's a fine line, and it's one of those things where you think you got everything figured out, you're
Right.
feeling great, and then for some reason, things just go south again, and you got to get right back on it. But yeah, like it's all part of changing your diet and trying to get healthy, and like you say, trying to feel as good as you can, so that you can enjoy life.
No, most definitely. And that's the
Yeah.
main reason why a lot of people would say, carnivore is restrictive. For me, it is sustainable because if
Hmm.
this is what it takes for my body to feel great, this is not restrictive to me. This is giving me freedom.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
it's kind of going back to, you got to do what's best for you. If you're dealing with problems, to that extent with your body, you have to be willing to make changes. You cannot basically put a limit on yourself that, oh, this is too restrictive. Because once you start it and you start feeling great, you're not going to care the foods that
Hmm.
you're missing because you're really not missing anything because now you're able to live life.
Hmm.
You have full ownership of your body again. You don't have your body running havoc on you.
Hmm. Yep, absolutely. It's one of the sayings I've heard a few times recently is, I think it semi-retired Bob said it the first time, is that, what is it? Nothing tastes as good as healthy feels.
Yes, I
So
love
that's,
Bob.
yeah. So that's sort of what I've been living by. I guess unfortunately it's, well, I don't know. It's a fine line when you're, I don't do the challenges. Like I don't really get into the community challenges too much.
Right,
But since starting my YouTube channel, unfortunately, you have to have some kind of content on there. And I really, I do these interviews, but then I do a lot of like chaffle recipes and stuff like that, which even that is, I have to try and be careful to not go too overboard with that kind of stuff because it's, it just leads down a bad pathway eventually.
oh yes, because I
Yeah.
was definitely there. I
Hmm.
still have all of my little dash waffle makers. I still have
Hmm.
all of them because
Yeah.
that's just the way I was doing things. I basically figured, oh, what harm am I doing because it's still keto?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and it's what I've had to learn. I've had this channel going for a couple of years now, and what I've had to learn is to sort of separate my everyday life from YouTube as far as what I eat. Like if I'm making a video about chaffles or some other kind of
Right,
recipe, well, that's fine. It's a once in a week kind of thing, and then the
right,
rest of the week, like I have the most boring diet ever. It's like hamburgers or ground beef or steaks or chicken. Like that's basically all I eat. So I don't put that on YouTube because no one really wants to see that kind of. Well, maybe they do. I don't know. I just don't have the time to do that kind of video. But
right.
it's a balancing act for sure.
No, absolutely. And I
Yeah.
definitely get it because, obviously my channel is very new. And,
Hmm.
sometimes you kind of get into that feeling that, are people going to get bored with my content? Because I can definitely eat air fried burger patties for every meal. I don't have any
Hmm.
issues with it. Just air fry me some burger patties and put some butter on it, and I'm good to go. I am fine with that meal. I do not have any issues with that meal. But,
Hmm.
for a lot of people, it's kind of just human nature. They want to see creative meals, they want to see variety. And I just, lately I've been telling a lot of, I've been saying on my channel in my recordings that this is me, this is
Hmm.
me in my true authentic self. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to the viewers. And it's not fair to my family, to spend so much additional time on putting on a facade with my channel. People
Hmm.
are just going to get me. It's one of those things, even if you're on social media scrolling, and if you see something you don't like, keep on scrolling. It's the way I feel
Hmm.
about my videos. It's either you're going to like me or you don't like me.
Hmm.
I solely started the channel and I've had so much motivation from when I first started keto to do a channel. I'm happy I didn't, only because of, the mental health downfall that I went through. It wouldn't have been the best for me to have a channel at that time. But I definitely felt I was ready because truly the recent motivation that I had gotten was to share my journey, only because my journey is very unique. In terms of putting it out there, a lot of people they don't expose that much, and I
Hmm.
felt it was important. A lot of times on social media, you see a wonderful after picture and you see this before picture that basically makes you think like, oh wow, that's me. And if I can look like that person in their after picture, but you
Hmm.
don't see the in between that happens. And
Right.
I really felt it was important to just kind of be transparent, be genuine. So it's one of those things with my content that, yeah, sometimes the lunch that I'm showing, it might be the same that I had the whole entire week. And if you want to hit the stop button and not continue watching it, I appreciate that you gave my video a chance. But
Hmm.
it's one of those things, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm just the type person that I created the channel for my own accountability first. It does allow it to be a video journal for myself to look back on, but also the amount of just positive, amazing people that I've been able to connect with where they're telling me that, wow, like, I appreciate how transparent you're being. Like, this is something I'm struggling with, and I keep coming back to keto thinking, oh, I didn't do something right. Maybe I needed to do my keto a little bit more strict.
Hmm.
And it could just be keto is just not the path they need to take. And, that's okay. Just because everyone else is doing keto does not necessarily mean that that is the path you have to choose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a good way to look at your, yeah, using a channel as the accountability tool that it can be. And uh, unfortunately, I kick myself for not starting it when I started keto. I waited 2 years, so I'd sort of gone through all of the transition before I even got onto YouTube. So I didn't have sort of any of that to show, but I still had learned enough that I sort of wanted to get on here. Uh, and then I got into meeting other creators like yourself and Tom Garvey and Keto Mike and everyone else that I've interviewed. And that's sort of recently in the last couple of months anyways, that's sort of turned into my main focus, is to bring stories like yours to YouTube, so that your channel is just starting. So hopefully people that watch my channel will find yours as well, and they'll hear your story. And the, everybody's story can help somebody, and that's sort of my hope for what we're doing here.
Oh, yes. No, absolutely. And that's what I
Hmm.
appreciated when you had reached out to me because I actually
Hmm.
found you because of an interview you did. So I'm actually
Hmm.
really good friends. I connected on a personal basis with Hyla, who is
Hmm.
crafty and carnivore-ish. And
Hmm.
because of your interview with her, that is how I found you. And that's how I
Hmm.
subscribed to you. So I really truly feel, doing these interviews, it definitely allows, so many others to hear and connect with your channel and just hearing all these just wonderful, unique stories because there is one interview that is truly going to connect with someone.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's like the again, and ultimately so far everybody I've talked to sort of has the same goal when it comes to helping other people. Like, we all want to do what we can to help people, make that change that we know that they can make. And you're right, it's these videos might not be for everybody, but if they can help change one person's life, like,
Oh, yes.
that to me is the only real reason for doing it. So
Right.
yeah.
And
So
people
yeah, no, this.
see.
Sorry.
So on, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that, people will see on my videos, I actually shared very transparent before and after pictures. It was something I really had to come out of my comfort zone and do because I was simply just in a pair of shorts and a bikini top.
Hmm.
And especially the size that I'm at, that is definitely not a lot of, things people want to see is someone oversized and weight wearing shorts and a bikini top. But for me, it was so important to really show just the raw content of truly where I was at my point in my 4-year keto journey. Because even though I was 4 years keto, look what I was looking like. So I really just kind of felt like it was important to kind of show that. And that is what people will see on my channel, that I'm starting off 4 years in. It is okay
Hmm.
that you had a slip up, kind of don't beat yourself up no matter how long you've been on this journey. Because just as you said, we all basically have the same goal as, to help each other and to let everyone know, it is okay. Look at me now. Yes, I might have been 4 years in gaining 42 pounds of the 101 that I lost, but I can't fully beat myself up either because I still have like about a 60 plus weight loss that I still have kept off.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like we have to also see the bigger picture in it all as well. That yes, you might gain some back, but all is not completely lost when you gain those 20, 30, 40 pounds back.
For sure. Yeah, no, I completely agree. If you can be in a happy enough place with, how you're feeling, and, and being able to share it, I think that's really all that matters at the end of the day. Like, there's been stories like, I don't one influencer on Instagram. I talked to him on a live stream here a couple of years, well, a year and a half ago. He lost 300 pounds on
Oh,
keto,
wow.
and then wound up gaining over 300 pounds back.
Oh my
And he's
gosh.
gone through it again, and he's lost that 300 pounds again,
You
and he's
see?
been able to keep it off. So everybody, you're right. Everybody goes through different parts of the journey. I've always said that at the end of the day, getting to that goal weight, you have to celebrate all those steps along the way as victories, but you also have to remember that just because you get to a goal weight doesn't mean the journey's over. It just
Right?
changes at that point. Like, I've found it almost harder to stay in a maintenance mode than it was to lose the weight in the beginning. So it, it's that's why it's a lifestyle. It's not a diet. There really is no finish line.
Right.
It's just doing what you have to do to stay healthy. And, I've got grandkids that run me around, and, I need to try and stay healthy enough that I can be around for them. And
Oh,
that's really
yes.
just what keeps me going. So,
No, absolutely. You have an amazing why. And, even you mentioning weight, we have to remember the scale is not always going to show our victories. It definitely did
mm,
not for me on Triple B and E, because I can tell you right now, if I did not take before and after pictures, I would have considered my Triple B and E to be not really a failure, but I would have almost considered that, oh, it didn't really work for me, because I
hmm
see others mentioning these, substantial weight loss that they're able to accomplish in just 30 days of Triple B and E. For me, I did it for 60 days and I lost 8.8 pounds. But if you
hmm
see my before and after picture, I know Two Crazy Ketos, they had featured it on one of their recent lives, and people in the chat, they were shocked. They said, "Are you
hmm
sure her scale isn't broken?" Because the healing that I had gone through allowed my
hmm
body to have such a great just recomposition. And that is what it's all about. It's, you can't just rely on just the weight to kind
hmm
of judge or kind of be your measure, because at scale, it does not show everything. So it's kind of one of those things as well. It's kind of, we kind of have to not be so reliant on the scale and kind of get ourselves discouraged or to allow the scale to depreciate us. So that kind of
Yeah.
sparked my thoughts when you mention a weight, because it's not always just about the weight. We can't always make our goals be, oh, I want to be 160 pounds. No, it
Hmm.
should be, how do you feel in your body?
Right.
The new
Yeah.
clothes that you're buying now that you lost this weight, do you feel good that way? Like, do you look like you're happy with those new size of clothes that you're wearing? How are you
Hmm.
feeling? Are there certain parts of your body that you feel like you want to lose more? We have to judge in that way. We cannot just leave it up to the scale to be like, oh, well, my ideal body weight should be this, and the scale doesn't say it yet. So I need to force myself to keep going.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that, I do go back to weight quite a bit, but I think the what you touched on there is that you really have to sort of forget about that whole ideal body weight notion, because no matter what you say, like I got under 200 pounds, 2 years ago for the first time since I was a teenager, right? But actually, and I thought, oh well, I should be under 200 pounds. That's where I was when I was a teenager. But in reality, that's not where my body wants to be. So you
No,
have to be able to accept where where you feel the healthiest. I think if that means that,
absolutely.
yeah, if that means that the scale is saying you're 10 pounds, 20 pounds heavier than what you think you should be, but you feel great, then you're right. It's ultimately, I haven't even touched the scale in, I don't know, 2 years. I go more on how I feel. And you're right. You can tell if you're doing things right because, clothes get looser and you got to put another notch in your belt or whatever. Right. So
Right.
I think those are more rewarding, because it's not the scale just plays so many tricks with your mind that it's really not healthy in the long run.
No, it definitely does.
Yeah.
My went
So.
back in the closet. I definitely put mine's back in the closet as soon as I kind of had those numbers after the 60 days of triple B and E, because of course people, they wanted to know in terms of weight
Hmm.
loss. So I did it for the sake of kind of letting everyone know, but I had to make sure that I was healthy with my relationship with the scale, to
Hmm.
kind of do those weigh-ins. But I also feel like having those before and after pictures kind of really healed the unhealthy relationship that I had with the scale. So I definitely think
Right.
that's important as well. Is definitely people should be taking pictures, take your measurements, rely on those more than what that scale
Hmm.
is telling you.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was one of the biggest things about that whole triple B and E thing when Dr. Barry started, suggesting people use it as that sort of reset tool. He was like, you know, and everyone sort of got on board with, put the scale away, forget about it, take some pictures and some measurements, do your 30, 60, 90 days, and then, you know, take more pictures and more measurements. And, that's what I like about Dr. Barry is he doesn't, he can be a little much as far as
Yes.
like the technical side of things go, but he doesn't mess around. He just tells
No.
it like it is. And, and I think he's helped millions of people. So,
No, absolutely.
it's not the triple B and E thing isn't something that I have done or really I'm not interested in, but
Hmm.
I think it's a great tool to do what you did with it to sort of reset things and get back on track. So, okay, well, I won't take up too much more of your time here. It's been a great talk. I think your story, as you say, is unique, and uh, right from beginning till now, I think your experience and your journey is going to, you know, pick up all sorts of different people on the spectrum of where they are in their journey. And, a lot of people have tried and failed and tried and failed. And, hearing stories like this, hopefully we can, keep them to keep trying until, they get to where they need to be.
No, absolutely. And that is
Yeah.
definitely what I would say to anyone, anyone that's new to this way of eating, or, anyone that has basically hit kind of like a wall of doom, is I would just
Mm-hmm.
really tell them, choose what is best for you. You might start
Mm-hmm.
off doing keto, and if you've tried it for 90 days and if it's not working, you can change your path at any time. Right now, I'm doing carnivore. In the far future, that might change, but people have to realize you are allowed. No one has the right to tell you that you cannot do anything. You
Mm-hmm.
have the right to choose what path you need to. It can change
Right.
at any point in time because, as we are achieving better health, our bodies are changing. So our bodies are going to be so much more capable of doing other things, and not just, in terms of activity, but also the way of eating. So maybe in the future, yes, maybe I can introduce dairy. Maybe I can start introducing some, keto things. But for right now, that's not the path I need to take for the time being. So I just really think it's important, with all the information out there, for people to just choose what's best for them. Whether that be keto, carnivore, ketovore, you kind of just really have to find what is best for you, what is going to be
Mm-hmm.
sustainable for you. And, it's something that I mention on my channel. I leave everyone off with a message that, your dreams and your goals, they do not have limits, they do not have deadlines, and they don't have expiration dates. You can definitely set whatever dream and goal you have for yourself, you can set it at any given time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's a great message, because it's you know, and a lot of times I think there's a lot of people that probably the ones that don't even comment on things, that are hearing things like that,
Right.
and you have to keep getting that message out there, knowing that you may just be helping someone who just is too shy to even mention it. So yeah, no, I think that's probably a great place to leave off on that. I'll definitely, in the description of the video, there'll be a link to your channel, and then this will go out as a premiere, so we'll be able to share it between our channels, so that hopefully everybody that is interested in watching can be there in the live chat, and sort of converse, and we can answer questions if we need to. So yeah, so that's I really do appreciate you coming here, giving me your time with this.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so honored.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
So
appreciate it.